Hey guys, I am doing a video that's long overdue because I filmed the first part a while ago and then kind of got distracted with the holidays and everything. But this is going to be part 2 of my working in retail series that I really don't have a name for. It's just my stories that I accumulated from over the years. So I have my notes again because there's stuff that I know I would forget if I just tried to sit here and do it off the top of my head. So this part is going to be focusing on regular customers that we had. Which sounds weird probably if you don't work in retail and never have. But I assume if you're watching this you probably have worked retail at some point in your life. But our store was in a very small town and kind of right in a residential area. So there was all these side streets right next to us that was all houses, so people would just walk over to get their bread and their milk, and there was a beach nearby, so in the summertime we would always be really busy because people would come in their bathing suits and stuff and get drinks and snacks and stuff. So we kind of had this little hometown vibe of regular customers all the time. There were some people I would see every single day, multiple times a day, and I would be even if I lived right next door to a store, I don't think I would be in there multiple times a day every day. It always boggled my mind. I'm gonna start with probably the most memorable person, and I think that somebody told me that he's died since then, since I worked there, but I know for a fact his first name was Ralph, so we'll call him Ralph. He was he looked way older than he actually was. When we all found out his actual age, we were like, what? Probably because he was so mean. He was a really mean, gruff, demanding old man who scared the crap out of me the first day I started, because he was a regular that would come in almost every day, and he very rarely bought anything other than lottery tickets. We had the lottery machine and we had to do that crap, and learning that was an experience in and of itself. But when you have people that are super specific about their numbers and everything, and I want this, 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 and this, and this right now. He was like that. Right now, I want it now, I want to get in and out of here. He never wanted to wait in line. If I had a line of people, and I always dreaded him coming in at Christmas time or any holiday when we were busy and I had a line of people, because he would cut the line, come the way it was. If I was standing this was the counter that people put their crap on, and my register was right here, so I'd have to keep turning back and forth to scan stuff and everything. So the line of people would be towards you guys. He would cut the line of people, come and stand right here, and I'd be like, I can't take you right now and skip all these people that were here before you, and he would get pissed off. So the first day I started there, I swear to you, he called me a bitch under his breath, and I wasn't even being rude or anything. I was like, I don't know how to use the lottery machine yet. I just started. This is my first day. I haven't been trained on it. And it was just, it got to the point where I had a near panic attack every time I saw him coming in when I first started. And then over the years, I obviously learned how to do the lottery machine, and it got so that I was the only person he would want to do it. So even when I got promoted to a supervisor and I would be downstairs or something, and the cashier would still be calling me to come do his lottery because he only wanted me to do it. So it kind of got he didn't bother me after a while because I was the only one that could do his lottery. But when I first started there, no way, he scared the crap out of me. So then we had That was the main problem with him too, just going back a minute. You know how they have the slips for the lottery machine so that you can fill out all the numbers that you want? The problem with him was that he didn't want to do that. He never came in with pre-filled out slips or anything. he wanted you to physically put the numbers in the machine for him, and he'd have like 7 or 8 ways that he would play numbers, and he did that like almost every day. And when you're not trained on the lottery machine, it's simple. If they just come in and give you the slips of paper to put it in the machine, it prints it out, you ring them up. But when you don't have the sheets of paper and they're rattling off numbers to you, it's like, wait a minute, I can't go that fast. So that was the main issue with him. He was all about lottery and just very gruff and demanding. Then we had Dot. She was this super sweetheart of an old lady that she like had lost her husband a few years back, and you could tell she was just like lonely and wanted to come in and talk to you. So she was another one that would come in and stand, like, not purposely cutting other people in line. She wouldn't even be buying anything at the time. She would just stand there and want to talk to you. And it's like, it's kind of it would be distracting when you're trying to ring out other customers and there's a lady standing here talking to you and the customers are like giving her the side eye, like, are you gonna get out of my way? She would always, I don't know why she would call me Mega. I don't know if she thought that was actually my name or not, like she heard it wrong one time and thought that my name was Mega, but that was like a running joke with everybody, and everybody that I worked with would call me Mega. My friend Alex still calls me that, so then her daughter would come in almost as often, but not quite as often as she did, and she would like apologize for her mother being a pest. She really wasn't a pest, she was lonely and wanted to talk to somebody. Then we had a really weird lady that we called Messy Mousy, because the lady that I worked with, Phyllis, she came up with that name just because she was like, there was definitely something that had to be wrong with her. She was very unkempt, her hair was always like all over the place. She always wore like baggy dresses with no bra. She never really talked to anybody. There was one time there was this giant bug in the store that we were freaking out about. I think it was a cricket. I don't know, but it was gross. It was like probably this big, crawling on the carpet like up and down the aisle. And my friend and I were like freaking out over it and trying to find something to scoop it up and get it out of the store with. We like got distracted with something and went to the front of the store, and then the crazy lady, she like snuck down the aisle and picked it up in her hands and was walking around with it, and then we were freaking out even more because we were like, what is she doing with that? Please get it away. There was a few times that we had to like call the cops because customers were complaining about her outside, because this lady drove, which was kind of dangerous. I don't know how she had a license, or if she like wasn't supposed to be driving, but she was. She would be standing outside her car like opening the door and closing it and opening it and closing it and just like rocking back and forth, and we'd have customers come in being like, that lady shouldn't be driving, and she just took off. So there were a few times we had to call the cops, and then she was always gone before the cops came, and they would be like, why are you calling us? We had to because the customers were outside complaining about it. Yeah, she always left by the time they came, so like nothing ever came of that. And then after a while she stopped coming in, so I don't really know what happened, but there was a lot of weird occurrences like that with her, where she would just like stop dead in the aisle and start rocking and stuff, and it was just weird and odd. There was there was a lady that we called the sunglass bitch. This is so funny to hear myself saying this for like a bunch of you that didn't work with us in this store, but this lady was like super brash. She always had a ton of self-tanner orange stuff on and like bright pink lipstick. She wasn't ever really mean, but she was one of those people that would be like, you didn't know her and her mannerisms, you would think she was like a raging bitch. because she'd be like, God, Jesus Christ, this is supposed to be on sale and it's not ringing up, like things like that, where customers behind her in line would be like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry you had to deal with that, and I would just be like, she's like that all the time when she comes in here. And then she, like, no matter when I would go to the McDonald's in that town, which was maybe like a 6 or 7 minute drive from where we worked, she was always in there. Like, I literally saw her about 5 or 6 months ago when I went to meet my friend and we went there for lunch. She was in there. I don't know how she's always there, but she's always in that McDonald's. Then there was newspaper guy. This guy was an old man with a ponytail who, he literally never bought anything. He would come in, take a newspaper off the rack, go to the back of the store and read it, and then put it back on the rack in the front of the store and walk out and leave. It was funny to me, but like it pissed off the lady that we worked with, Phyllis, so much that it got to the point where, because he was just coming in and reading the newspaper and not buying anything, she would see him coming, she'd see him coming through the parking lot, she would run to the newspaper rack, take them all, and hide them behind the counter so that when he came in, there was no newspapers and he would just leave. He wasn't ever like a nuisance or anything, it was just, that was something that got her goat and she did not like it, and she would make sure that she hid them whenever she was working. There was a guy that lived right across the street that he would come in the store and do shady shit all the time. Like, he would come in and act like he was friends with everybody and try and be super nice, but like he would take, he would switch shelf tags. So like, say there was a $10 bottle of vitamins and like a $50 bottle of vitamins, he would take the $10 one, put it on the $50 one, and then when it rang up $50 at the register, he'd be like, that says $10, I can go show you. So he did that a few times before one of the managers caught him actually switching the damn tags. Then he'd also always make lewd comments to the younger guys that worked there, which there wasn't ever many. Like, my now brother-in-law worked there and he said some crude shit to him that I'm not even gonna repeat. But he eventually, for saying that stuff, he eventually got banned from going there and we didn't see him again. So then there was another guy who usually came in at night. I don't know if he was like autistic or had some sort of thing like that. Like, having Aiden now, I know Aiden's tics and everything, and just like an older, I don't know what was wrong with him. Like, I don't want this to be like, oh, I'm trying to diagnose all these people. It's just like these characters that came into my work. So he was always pretty funny. His mom had died. Like, I knew them both as customers coming in, and then his mom passed away. I get, like, he lived with her and they took care of each other, I guess. But he was always saying he had some form of cancer, I guess. I don't know how true this is or whatever, and he was always like saying he was gonna die, but he would laugh about it, and I'd be like, what is going on? But he was like super flamboyant and he would hit on all the guys that worked there. It was so funny. Like, it wasn't even like a sexual, what the hell's the word? It was just, he was being funny about it. So, it wasn't like one of those things that you could be offended by because he was just like jokingly doing it, but it was still funny. Then there was another guy that lived right across the street, like on the other side. He had a big fat white cat, and the cat would follow him over every day, and then the cat would wait outside like a dog would until he was done and go follow him back. But he was one of the ones that came in multiple times a day, and he did like the lottery machine numbers too, but he did a lot of scratch tickets. So he would like buy scratch tickets, go outside, scratch them, come back. Like, whenever he actually won something, go outside, scratch it, come back. Like, depending on how many times he won, he would keep doing that and doing that and doing that, which was kind of annoying when it was busy, again. but he was never like, he was one of those very quiet old men that like didn't really talk to you, but when he did say something it was funny. Then there was the coupon scammer. Let me tell you, when all that, like the extreme couponing TV shows and everything, when those started like taking hold and everybody was couponing like crazy, I know some people probably still do it, whatever, but those shows made our lives a living hell. Anybody who worked a cash register will tell you that. There was one lady in particular that couponed so much that she got like the higher up loss prevention people involved, and like it got to the point where if we were scanning more than like 5 coupons, they would call and be like, was this the coupon lady? And like just interrogate us. Like it scared the shit out of me that I was gonna lose my job if I took too many coupons. It was like ridiculous. We were supposed to like monitor her and follow her every time she came in the store, which I don't understand why, because she wasn't really pulling anything until she got to the front and was using like a pile of coupons like this. I don't know why it was such a problem for them, because the coupons always ended up working, but like, I don't know. if you scanned it and it worked, there's nothing you can really do. You can't tell the lady, oh, I can't take this because you're trying to screw us, or whatever they thought she was doing. But she eventually like got sick of having to deal with us every time, and she just, I guess, went and used her coupons elsewhere and didn't shop there anymore. Then there was Norma, who she's since passed away too. She was hilarious. She was this older Asian lady that was a real estate agent. And she was always asking me if I needed to buy a house and stuff. I'm like, I would love to, but I can't afford it. She would only drive if it was nice out to get to the store. So like she would call on the phone and be like, can you save me the paper? Like she had an accent, but I'm not gonna butcher the accent. But she'd be like, can you save me a newspaper? If it was drizzling out. She would not go out in the rain, drizzle, snow, forget it. But like there was a couple of times we had snowstorms and she didn't go out and drive for like 3-4 days at a time, and she would call me every morning, can you save the paper for me? Can you save the paper for me? Because she would come in and get the paper. And like by the end of the week I would have this stack underneath the cash register saying save for Norma because I didn't want anybody to throw them away. There was another lady that we didn't really have a name for. Like most of these we either used their name because we knew them on a first name basis, or we had a funny name for them. This was a lady that was like, she tried to be friendly with us every time she came in, but she was another one that was like gruff and kind of came off as rude. I remember her asking me one time like why I wasn't in school and why I was working at Rite Aid, and basically like berating me for working there. And I don't usually stick up for myself, but she pissed me off to the point where I was like, do you want to pay for me to go to college? Because she was like so invested in why I wasn't in school and why I was working at Rite Aid. And then like after I said that, she's like, oh, there's all kinds of things you can do. You can get loans and you can get financial aid and everything. I'm like, I don't want to owe on all that for the rest of my life when I don't even like have anything I seriously want to go to school for. It was just like, I'm a cashier in a store. Like, say hi to me and say your pleasantries and get out. You don't have to get involved in my life. Like, it boggled my mind how many people were like that. Then there was the crackhead lady. She was like very clearly medicated every time she went in. She was like really skinny and strung out. She was nice and everything, like other than the fact that she shoplifted all the time, we didn't really have a problem with her. She would always like try to talk and talk and talk our ears off, and like, you know, it was because she was distracting you so that she could go down an aisle and friggin' pocket stuff. And like there was one time, again, I think it was around Christmas time, it was super busy, I had a line of people, I was the only one working the register. She called and she wanted to talk and talk and talk about God knows what, and like the people I was waiting on were laughing because like I was trying to still do this and listening to her and like rolling my eyes, and then I finally put the phone down I took care of a few customers, I picked it up and she was still talking. Like, I was like, okay, bye. It was so ridiculous. She would always come in when we were about to close the store, like 2 to 3 minutes before we were closing. We usually closed at 8. Yeah, our store closed at 8. Most of them closed at 9, but we closed at 8 and then 6 on Sundays. So she would always come in, grab a carriage when we were about to close, and we'd be like, we're closing the store in a couple minutes, and she'd be like, okay, I just need a few things. And then, like, how do I describe it? Our office was very tiny. It was like at the end of the cash registers there was stairs to go up into the office, and it was like a little tiny room. But it had two-way glass so you could see most of the store. You couldn't like see that side of the store because of the aisles and everything, but you could see in front of you. And she'd always like go down the cosmetics aisle, which was right in front of us. That's where like where you got the best view of the cosmetics and the pharmacy in the back. And she would just like, she had to have known that it was two-way glass, and like she just heard us go up there, and then she's down there putting nail polish and stuff in her bag. And like, I don't think she didn't ever get caught or anything, because we were just like, we don't even want to mess with it. A lot of times we were told we couldn't technically get her for shoplifting because we weren't allowed to take our eyes off of her. And technically, if you were looking at her and then you took your eyes off her to go down the stairs, then that's taking your eyes off her, and we couldn't say anything. So yeah, that whole thing was stupid. Then there was the like 13-year-old kid with his mom that looked like she wasn't much older than him, and they would always buy junk food and stuff and use an EBT card, which pissed me off because like so many people use the food stamp card for junk. Whenever they used the EBT card, when you print out the receipt, it would tell you how much is left on your EBT card, so I would always take a peek at that. And it was always hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I don't know how they were getting approved for that much, or if they were, obviously they were cheating the system some way, because she only had one kid and she's getting hundreds and hundreds of dollars on an EBT card every month. But then it was always like energy drinks, candy, junk food, crap like that they were buying and using that for. And then the kid would come in with his friends on his own and be talking about like his computers and his laptops and his Xboxes and like all this shit that they had money for because they're cheating the system and using an EBT card with hundreds of dollars on it. That like, how are you getting this much money every month? This guy was kind of in this category of regular customers, but he didn't come in like every single day. There was a time, the first few years I worked there, we had a fax machine behind the register where people could come in and pay like, I think it was like $1 a page to fax stuff. And that was just such a stupid service. I don't know why Rite Aid had that. But like, we had a copy machine too, but that was fine because they could go do it themselves. With the fax machine, the cashier would have to stand there and feed through all the fax papers and everything while waiting on customers. So that was just another aggravation that didn't need to be there, and they got rid of it after a few years. But I would always get stuck with this guy for some reason, and he would be sending like these. Obviously when you're sending through a fax, you're gonna glance at it and see what the hell you're sending. And it would be like these, he always had like 10 or more pages to send, which I never had a problem if it was 1 or 2 pages that somebody wanted to fax, but he would have like a book of pages. And like, I glanced at it once and it's like all these 9/11 conspiracy theories, and I don't know who the hell he was sending it to, but it made me feel like creeped out even sending that stuff. Like, are we gonna get in trouble for sending this shit? I don't know who he was sending it to. It was addressed to like government officials and stuff, so I don't know what he was doing. That was something that like, if you were gonna be doing that crap, you shouldn't have bothered giving it to someone in a public place to fax. Like, get your own fax machine and do it at home. Let's see. I have like two left. 2 common people, customers that were coming in all the time. So then there was a guy that lived, I don't know exactly where he lived, but it had to be close by because he always rode his bike there. We thought at first that he was homeless, but he wasn't. He always smelled bad. He was always like greasy and dirty. And every time he came in, he was really nice, but like you kind of had to get away from him because he smelled so bad. And he would always ask to use the phone, which I don't know why he left his house to go there and then call his wife, asking her like what she needed and stuff like that. I never quite understood it. He would always ask for the phone. He'd always ask questions and then not understand what I was answering him about. He would ask a question and I'd try to explain something to him. He would always like, he had a track phone and he could never figure out how to like call the track phone thing to renew the minutes. It was just a headache every time he came in, and he would come in like, he wasn't an everyday person, but multiple times a week, I would say. And then the old vendors, there was an older couple that would come in to like change signage and stuff on certain items. I know they did like the Russell Stover stuff and certain things in the store just to change signage. I don't know what that's exactly called. It is a vendor, but it wasn't like super important stuff. Like they never brought deliveries or anything. They were just doing signage. And they always acted like their job was like the most important thing for our store, and like I remember one time they were changing signs on mouthwash or something because it was Listerine, I remember that, and the sign said like what did they say? The signs that we had up said that Listerine just as good as flossing or something like that, and they had to change that to say that it wasn't as good as flossing. It was something to that extent, and they must have told me and explained it to me like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, it's not that important to me. Change your signs and get your job done and go. They were another, even though they weren't customers, they were technically vendors. They always wanted to stand there and talk. And I'm a person that just wants to like keep to myself and get my job done and then go home for the day. I didn't live for that place. I hated the job. Like, I didn't want to stand there and talk about it. But yeah, those are all like my regular customer stories. And then the next video I'm gonna do is funny stories and incidents that happened and stuff like that. I have so many of those. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that will be the next one, is like the funny stories and incidents that happened. But I figured I would do the regular customers and see if you guys have any customers like that. Anybody that works or has worked retail, share it with. My camera just shut off because I think I recorded for too long, but I was gonna say, anybody who has worked retail or does work retail now, share your stories with me in the comments because I feel your pain. I know how it is. I worked there for almost like 12 years, so 12 years of dealing with like most of the same customers all the time was a pain in the butt. But I figured that regular customers would be a fun video to do, so that was what this one was. Next time will be funny stories / incidents, because we had a lot of like random issues going on in the store at certain times. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Sorry it was so long. I just had a lot of, as I was writing down memories and stuff, just all these things came flooding back, so that's why this was so long and there were so many customers to talk about. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you next time.